So I'll tell you my story, my first job story. Actually, how how I went from where I was and why I started applying for the jobs and whatnot. So hopefully it inspires somebody, right? So I was living in Edinburgh. I just finished my masters, and at the time, everybody was saying, hey, we don't get jobs here, proper jobs. Our communication is not good. Da 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 da. They don't employ Indians, whatever it is, right? So many myths, right? So I bought into it. I started working three retail jobs like Shell Garage, as Morrison's, as well as Royal Mail, right? So that's what I was doing, and life was going okay. And then I finished my masters, and 3 months in, 3 months after, yeah, life was smooth, right? And then one of the days, back in the day, I was the only guy in my friend circle who knows how to drive. So I hired a car to go somewhere, and then in the flat where I used to live, there was a guy who was working at RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland, in Edinburgh, Gogarburn, right, HQ headquarters. So he said, "Hey Jay, you have a car today, Why don't you drop me off at the job?" And I said, "Dude, I just woke up and my appearance is not good. So, no, it's fine. Don't care. Just it's fine. Let's go." I said, "Yeah, why not? Let's go." Right. So 9 o'clock, we went to RBS HQ, and I parked. I dropped him off, and he said, "Why don't you come in for a chat, right? Just we'll grab a coffee and I'll show you around and whatnot." And then I went in. Sorry, I said, "Bro, I'm not in the best of the appearance." And he said, "It's fine, it's fine. Nobody cares. Come in." So if you never been to RBS HQ, a lot goes on at the RBS HQ. So there are 15 minutes check before they let you in. This is a massive campus. About 5,000 to 6,000 people work there. Thousands of people work there. There is a local supermarket in there, a local bank in there, a Subway in there, a bookstore in there, and a massive restaurant in there. I mean, many. Man, it's crazy, right? So I went in with the guy, and he said, "Have a seat here. I will go and let my team leader know that I'll be a few minutes late." Okay, that's fine. And I sat there right, and I can see the front door, right, front door of the RBS main building. And early, morning 9 o'clock, I sat there and I was looking at the main door. Hundreds of people coming in with the suits on, with the polished shoe on, and I can hear the noise, tick tock, just the shoe noise. I can still hear it, right? And everybody so neatly, suited, booted, and everything, And I was looking at the door, and I was like, what the hell? What the hell am I doing here? If all these people can get a job, why can't I get a job, right? Like proper job. That was the moment. That was the moment that changed everything for me. Thanks to the guy. His name was Rajashekar Reddy, right? Thank you, brother. So thanks to the guy who took me there. That changed everything for me, right? So same day, I went home, went back to the flat, and then I downloaded a few CVs from Google, and I mashed them up together. So my course was advanced computer networking. So I have I downloaded the CVs for network manager, network supervisor, network team lead, aiming high, right? So, and I mashed them up together, and I put my name in, and then I started applying, and 2-3 weeks later, I had 0 responses. So, and then I heard of a guy, a friend of a friend, he was the only guy I knew at the time who was working in IT or networking. And then I went to the guy, and his name is Ajay, right? He's my best friend, right? Even now. So I went to Ajay, and I said, this is what's happening. I've been applying for the roles. I am not getting any responses. Da. And he said, what have you been applying for? I said, network manager, network supervisor. And he said, dude, come on. You don't have any experience in networking. How can you apply for network managers and all that? If you want the job, if you want the quickest job, you want the job really quickest, relatively, I would suggest you apply for like help desk role or IT support role or a desktop technician role and stuff. I was like, whatever, I just need a job, right? Tell me what I need to do. He said, go do the certification for Windows 7 and another certification for Windows 2003. So immediately I went back to the flat and signed up for the courses, Long story short, within a few weeks I got both certifications. And I started applying for the jobs again, this time IT support, IT support, networking, not so much networking, but IT support. And then, again, a week later, 10 days later, no response from anybody. And I went back to Ajay. I said, Ajay, bro, what's happening here? And he said, you know what? Let me introduce you to a guy who knows this market very well. And he introduced me to Raja. Raja was working somewhere near Glasgow at the time. So I called Raja and he said, so what's been happening? And I explained the problem. I said, you know what? Send me a copy of your CV. I will have a look and I'll get back to you. I sent him the CV and 2 days later I called him back. Bro, what's happening? I haven't heard back. He said, oh, it's fine. I'll review it. I'll get back to you. Okay, that's fine. And then 2 days later again, bro, I haven't heard back. Oh man, sorry, I've been busy, really busy. You know what to do is I will send you my CV and have a look at the CV and then revise your CV accordingly. And then he sent me the CV. Good artist copy, great artist steal. You know what I did? I changed the name on the CV. And then started applying. Well, name and a couple more things like experience and all that. And I started applying for the roles. And man, next week I was getting the calls, right? The problem was, I was Telugu medium and, I was butler English and whatnot. So, but I was upskilling, One thing I had was the desire, the ambition, the, desire to succeed, get a job, right? At any cost. And I can talk. I was confident. I wouldn't say I'm super confident, but whatever the stuff I was saying very confidently, right? So with recruiters and all that, I figured very quickly they need me as much as I need them. So I have nothing to lose there, right? So there were lots of mistakes I made, lots of stuff, the stupid things I said on the phone I shouldn't have when they asked me questions and whatnot. But you know what? After a couple of weeks, after a few weeks, I got an interview, right? My first interview was on 28th of April, 2010, right? I started the whole process in February. So, that's it. So I'll tell you all my interview experiences. I still have all the train tickets I purchased to go to these interviews on my office wall, and I've been to 9 interviews before I landed my first job. I'll tell you all about them. But yeah, man, that was crazy. So that's how it happened. One thing led to another. After 5 months of trying super hard, in the end, I got a job in IT. And when I got the job, I had no flipping clue on what to do. That's a story for another day, right? But yeah, struggles, at the time, couple more things, as well as RBS. What happened at the RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland? I was working in Morrison's and the Shell garage. I hated my supervisor in Morrison's. Trust me. Oh man, she was an old lady. I won't mention the name, but oh man, I hated her. Trust me. There was one day I removed my apron, thrown it on the floor, and I said, I'm done. I'm leaving. I'll share that story another day, but yeah. And then Shell Garage as well. Shell Garage was okay. I mean, both Morrison's and Shell, brilliant companies, brilliant. The place I worked at, awesome colleagues and whatnot. It's just a couple of bad apples, right? Shell Garage was actually brilliant. It was my mistake in the Shell Garage, so they asked me to cover a shift in another garage, and that's not what I used to. It's not my usual normal garage, but anyway, I went to cover the shift, and what do you do when nobody's coming to the shop, right? I picked up a magazine and started reading it, where I should have been, shelving, stocking the shelves and whatnot. But anyway, long story short, I was reading the magazine. There was a guy came in, and he bought cigarettes, I charged him for cigarettes, and he left. And only after he left, I realized there was 65 pounds worth of petrol as well. I didn't charge him. Next day when I went back to the shift, in my usual Shell garage, the supervisor came up with a letter, and she said, the manager sent you this letter. I was like, what is it? Well, I will read it for you. I said, no, it's fine. No, I will read it for you. Oh man, God. So it's a written warning saying, you were reading the magazine, the guy drove off, you weren't doing your work and whatnot. So yeah, they gave me a written warning. And by this time I was already working there for 2.5 years. And by the time she finished reading the warning, I said to her, do you have a white paper, right? A blank sheet of paper. She said, why? Just, I need a blank sheet of paper. Give me one. She gave me one. And there and then, I immediately wrote my resignation letter, and then I handed it back. She said, you're joking, right? I said, no, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I want to leave, right? Whatever the money, the drove off money was 65 pounds. You can deduct from my salary. So I'm leaving. That's it. I'm done. And she was like, okay, when do you want to leave? I said, as soon as possible, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow will be my last day, or end of this week. And she said, end of this week is fine. Done. That's it. That's my last week at Shell Garage after a while. So couple, something was burning inside me, right? So I was like, I need to prove myself. I need to prove it to myself, nobody else, right? I had to get a job. After 5 months of struggle, rigorous struggle, when I left the Shell Garage, by this time my Royal Mail was already finished, and I was only working two days in Morrison's. Just 2 days in Morrison's. Saturday, Sunday. Morrison's used to pay 1.5 times the money on Sunday. I'm not sure if they still do, which was brilliant, because I was one of the more experienced in the department. I always used to get Sunday shifts, where I get paid 1.5 times, which was brilliant, right? And then sometimes I go in the Wednesday or Thursday evening, extra 4 hours or something, when somebody calls in a sick. I was on a PSW visa, so I can work unlimited hours. No, 20 hours is not the limit, but I was only working 16 hours a week. But because I wanted to get a job, I wanted to better my life, right? So that's my story. I'll tell you about all the interviews, but after 9 interviews, my 9th interview is in Aberdeen. So when I came to Aberdeen, my interview lasted for just 13 minutes. I had no hope after that. I was like, who the hell would give me a job after 13 minutes, right? So immediately, as soon as I walked out of the room, I just thought, nah, this is a no-go. We still need to keep on going. But yeah, there you go. I got a job in Aberdeen. that's the interview, 13 minutes interview, which they offered me a role, right? So that's my story. I will hopefully share more anecdotes and more small stories about each interview, because each interview, man, come on, I can tell you a lot more about that, right? But stay tuned, subscribe to my channel, and give me a follow on Instagram. Yeah, join my group askj.com. I do mentor lots of international students. All right, cheers, all the best.